Hey everyone, Skull902 here, and I'm going to be taking a trip with my memory lane buddies. Today, I'm joined by Rabid Sonic fan, Sonic Song 182's KN, and Jen from Time Soup. Or I don't know how to introduce you with your name.
Man, it's
I'm so
fine. I'm
sorry.
just Jen. Jen
Just
Soup, much
Jen.
like She-Hulk. I'm
I'm
just
just
Jen.
Jin.
Uh, we're going to be talking about Sailor Moon today, a franchise that, I felt we all held near and dear and everything. Before we get started, actually, I do want to uh, thank Courtney, Project S&T, and Necrophilia, our friend Georgia, for their willingness to participate in this podcast. Unfortunately, personal stuff prevented that from happening, but just wanted to give them both a shout out here. Before we get into the subject here. So episode 3, the final pilot episode here for Memory Lane Buddies. Again, we're discussing Sailor Moon. And just want to say hello to our live members of the chat. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Uh, and I hope that we can bring you a good experience with this little chat here. Uh, to start things off, I think a good place would be how exactly did we discover Sailor Moon and/or become a fan? Because I feel like there's actually a good few launching points. Like, originally it was like syndicated, and then it really became popular on Toonami, and then like years later, younger fans of Sailor Moon, I feel would have hopped on board like when the new dub of the original anime came out, or like Crystal, or like around that point. So we'll start off with KN and Jen.
Well, I was on the Toonami train. That was my first exposure to Sailor Moon, and it was the coolest thing on the earth. I hadn't seen anything quite like it from other cartoons that I loved a lot at the time. That's I guess where I didn't know anything about manga back then either. I was like 10? I don't know. Probably younger than that.
That sounds right. Yeah, I think I started maybe watching sometime in the fourth grade, so like 9 years old or so, and in the fifth grade I got really into it because some girls needed somebody to be Sailor Venus in their group, and I'm still best friends with that Sailor Moon today.
Oh wow,
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
yeah. Beautiful friendships blossom from shared interests.
Indeed, indeed. Rabid, I feel you and I are going to have a similar story, but go ahead.
Um, well, I knew it aired on Cartoon Network and stuff. But I didn't watch a whole lot of it because, like, I was like 6, 7 years old. I'm like, oh, it's a girly show for girls, so I didn't watch it. Uh, but then the Viz dub came out in like 2014. I was like 20 years old, and like, that kind of thinking's pretty dumb. So I was like, yeah, I'll give this a try because like it's an iconic show and everything. And I liked it a lot. So yeah. So then I like started like getting into the manga and the live action show and stuff too, stuff like that. And I also made my own show for like 2 episodes because like voice actor stuff. But yeah.
That's a fairly good way for me to segue into this because like you, back in the day, like uh, Sailor Moon was something that I would watch, but like most of Toonami was like me just kind of like staring in front of the TV, really waiting for Dragon Ball Z to come on. Uh,
Such a
Yeah.
good show.
But I did have like the slightest amount of interest in Sailor Moon because a team of similarly uniformed, differently colored superheroes reminded me a lot of Power Rangers. Uh, which come to find out years later that that Super Sentai was an inspiration for Sailor Moon's creation. So it comes full
Yeah.
circle, I guess.
I mean, it's no surprise. It's basically just Super Sentai, but all girls.
Yeah. But like I didn't really have much investment in it until like years later, and Rabid bringing up his fan series has basically everything to do with me becoming a fan because the first episode came out and I had no idea that the project was even going on. I was a little surprised that he didn't ask me to do a voice role for it. Uh, so I brought it up to him and he was like, "Sorry, I didn't think you would be interested." So like I I did like a bunch of research on Sailor Moon after that. WikiMoon really helped me in that department. And as I was reading everything, I was like, this all sounds really cool. And I became very interested in the lore, and the storytelling and all that. Uh, Ended up writing an episode myself. Became the voice of Artemis in a way, actually kind of weaseling into it, very similar to how I became big on Sonic Song 182. Uh, it's always these cats, man, that I end up sneaking into the voice role for. It's odd that way, but you know.
As
Uh,
Andrew Lloyd Webber
Man,
says,
been
I
a
just
cat
like
boy this whole
cats.
time.
Oh my gosh.
uh, so yeah, that's basically how I became a fan was just doing the research, and I ended up just really liking what I saw from all that. Uh, uh, TTP says Skull the cat. Yeah, it is kind of funny how like both of those instances were feline characters. Um, so that's how we became fans. There's plenty of different versions and adaptations of Sailor Moon from the original manga to the '90s anime, Crystal, Pretty Guardian. Blah, blah, blah. Sorry, my brain doesn't work. Pretty Guardian Sailor Moon, the live action show, like the stage shows, whatever the case may be. So I'd like to ask the panel what version or adaptation of the Sailor Moon franchise are you most familiar with, and what you like about that particular version. Rabid, we'll start with you.
Oh, okay. Uh,
Put this man on the spot.
yeah. Um, I'd probably say the version of Sailor Moon that first comes to mind for me is the '90s anime. That's like easily the most iconic version, I think. There's
90s
lots of
dub or
nostalgia
Viz
there.
dub?
Um, depends on my mood.
You had just mentioned the Viz dub's the one that you that was the first thing that you ended up watching. So I was curious if you'd gone back to watch the previous version but it
I
sounds
have,
like you
yeah.
have enjoyed both. Excellent.
I uh, I have a soft spot for the '90s dub, even though you could easily say it's not good.
It's really good. What are you talking about?
90s dub is the
That's
the
the best
superior
one.
one. I mean,
Clearly.
the censorship is unfortunate.
That's
Some
the
of that's
only issue
pretty
I have
stupid,
with
but
it.
yeah, everything else is so good. If they had just not cut like the certain aspects of it, like including whole episodes, messed up like people's character relationships. If they had just done it straight, but with all the same voices, the dope music cues,
I'm even fine with
nice
the
would be
different
perfect.
names.
Yeah, the name change is still good.
I will love Molly forever.
Wally.
Brooklyn Molly.
I could tell
Molly
you.
is flawless.
Yeah, I could tell you like we'll be using like the different dub names here and there depending but like one character like personally that's always an exception for me is I almost never call Melvin Umino. He's Melvin.
Same,
Yeah,
yeah.
I
He's
actually
a
never
he's a
use the
Melvin.
I actually
Just look at
don't
him.
know a lot of the smaller roles' names in Japanese. I don't remember. I've read most of the manga, but I don't remember. It's been a long time.
Well,
Those two are Melvin and Molly. I don't care.
not to feel too bad, Jen, because like literally one of them is just called Usagi's fat friend. Like she literally has no
Oh
name.
no, horrendous.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a different time.
Indeed.
So, so you're most familiar with the '90s anime. I would take it that's the same for KN and Jen.
Yeah, same for
Actually,
me, but
no.
Jen I think started in a different spot.
No. I watched a lot of the 90s anime and I really love it a lot, but I got really into the manga after a while and I read most of that. I need to be really clear. I'm not like active Sailor Moon fan, not a super fan or anything like that. I was just a genuine kiddo who loved Sailor Moon and then sort of moved past it and onto other things. I just have a lot of fond memories of it. But I did read a lot of the manga, and at this point, that's like my favorite. I love the manga. It's wonderful. Um, I don't know. I think the art gives the whole thing a very different vibe, and it's more focused, I guess, and kind of hits those emotional moments a little bit better, in my opinion, when necessary. It's very weird, but I enjoy it a lot.
Yeah,
It's a little brutal sometimes too. Like some of that
I'm
artwork of
fine with
those of like the monsters getting defeated. You're like, oh my god.
that.
the manga is quite a bit more
Artwork
violent
is
and
is
horror
beautiful.
oriented at times, so like they tend to get censored every time it's adapted.
She's like, look at these beautiful magical girls I drew compared to this horrific mangled zombie.
It's fine. I tended to gravitate. I think especially after Sailor Moon, I gravitated mostly toward manga instead of and like I still had some anime that I really liked, but for the most part, I liked manga, and a big part of that was because the art is so superior compared to a lot of anime. So like after Sailor Moon, I got really into Fushigi Yugi. Yu Watase's artwork is also like really beautiful.
Yes, very good. And yet the animated version of them often looked terrible.
Well, yeah, it has to.
It, you know what? It needs the
Animation's a lot of
production.
work. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, man. Uh, no, I think like the original manga is like the thing I'm least familiar with. To be honest, I feel like I've seen uh, some of that like surprising art, but nothing really comes very clear into my head. But I know that I've definitely seen plenty of Takeuchi's art, and it's like very detailed, and she has a
It's
very
really
particular style. Uh,
Yeah, I will say the 90s anime was much better at developing the girls than the manga is. A lot of them sort of end up in the background and just hanging out. But since the anime has so much filler, they have much more developed personalities.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
that's
it's
a
really able to do that for the rest of the girls and also the villains quite a bit.
Yeah, that's a pretty fair thing to say. As far as far as I'm concerned, the version I'm most familiar with is like the '90s anime would be pretty close, but I haven't seen all of it. So in that regard, it would be the Crystal series and the live action series as well. Uh, and just something I like about those two things is for Crystal in particular, I think like the first three seasons did a really good job with that storytelling. Uh, you know, they were able to put those stories into 13 episodes and have it be like coherent and well done. I think like all the characters got their due and everything. Um, especially that third season. Oh my God, it's such a banger. But I'll talk about that later. Uh, the movies not so much in that regard, unfortunately, but they had that going, and then
Promise of the Rose
Oh,
was dope.
oh, the older
Sailor Moon
movies.
our
Oh
movie.
yeah. Can we watch that tonight?
Yes.
Do you have it somewhere?
Yes.
Hell yeah.
and then for PGSM, I'm really just interested in how they were able to make that work. To be honest, the uh, like you can see it in the progression of that series how they were able to like settle in and just kind of like be like, all right, we understand how to do this. So like you wouldn't think that a version of Sailor Moon that's live action and there's very obvious wigs and like the cats are plush toys and whatnot would work, but like I don't know, like by the midpoint in the series, they're actually hitting the dramatic notes pretty well. The fight scenes are actual fight scenes, and they do the storytelling like pretty well. So like it's really interesting to see that progress from the beginning of the show to they figured it out, by the end of it.
Yeah.
I never watched that.
It's
haven't
it is a
seen, like,
little hard to find.
clips
I
because
was
it's interesting conceptually, and I know that there's a particular arc involving Mercury that everyone's like, this is the best Mercury ever.
I was 10 or 11 for most of my tenure as a Sailor Moon fan, so I did not have the money or the internet.
Yeah, it's definitely a little more obscure on the grand scale of Sailor Moon stuff, but
It's
it's worth
peak.
it's worth a mention. Uh, and on that note, we'll move on to favorite characters. And for this one, let's go with Jen to start.
Oh yeah, this is pretty easy. I mean, I have a huge soft spot for Sailor Venus for reasons that make sense based on just what I said earlier. Um, I used to play as her often on the playground with 4 other girls in the 5th grade. I had a cool clip-in red bow. I like happened to have that, so I'd do my hair in a half up a lot and I'd just like run around. I could do her whole like transformation sequence, all the moves to it and everything. So I have a big soft spot for her, if only because, like I said, I'm still best friends with the girl that I met back then. Um, but also, y'all, I love Brooklyn Molly. Oh, that's right, Molly.
There were some things that were kind of messed up.
No,
in
it
that
wasn't.
show.
It was perfect. Shut up.
Molly should have been a
Listen, I
Sailor
know
Scout.
that
That's
was
all there is
tragic,
to it.
but it also didn't happen in the manga, and it was so funny.
90s anime. Let's clean this up and make it a little less weird. Now let's make it extra weird. Thank you.
What weirdness are you talking about exactly
Read
here?
to me when I was when I was a kid, he read to me as way older than Molly, which I don't think is quite true.
I mean, that's kind
He
of a
might be,
thing in
like,
Sailor
what is
Moon
it,
in
like-
general, but he is quite a bit older than Molly, but he also gets murdered by a bunch of spikes, so it's fine.
Yeah,
It's fine, actually.
I know you really Sailor Moon.
Yeah, and he did have a
Exactly.
he did have a really
to be
funny
fair-
voice.
Like, no!
To be fair, I think all the characters read to me as being a little older when I was like
Oh, yeah.
9 years old. I'm like, oh yes, Serena and her friends who are
high
16
schoolers.
years old for sure.
Oh, I mean, I didn't even think they were 16. I think for me it was just one of those things where it's like, wow, definitely high school. They're so mature. And then you get older, and the first one is, oh, they're 14? Interesting. And then you get a bit older and you go, oh, they're children. Oh, 14
Yeah.
is child. Oh,
Meanwhile, in the manga, isn't like Darian's like just mind his own business. He's a high schooler, and then the show.
in
they're
the
like,
show, for some
let's
reason,
make him a college
for
student.
some reason, they made Darian older in the dub. I'm pretty sure.
I never thought about any of that stuff as a youth.
It made no
I
sense.
did think Nephrite was a little like I was like, who is this man? Run, Molly!
It's his
Yeah.
long defined features
I
and his
think
beautiful hair.
Yeah, it's because he looks like this random Adonis man running around.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we have Sailor Venus and Molly for Jen.
Here, Brooklyn Molly. I don't care about any of the other versions.
Specifically, Brooklyn Molly.
Love Brooklyn Molly.
So Rabid, how about you?
I'd say it tends to kind of go back and forth between like Usagi and Sailor Venus because they're like almost the same character.
Sailor Venus is mysterious too. That was cool.
Ooh.
Yeah.
They're just both so silly.
Could she be the moon princess we're looking for? Sailor Venus?
Yeah, and
They're
only
both
because
blonde. They look
were
similar
in my
enough.
group, that was by accident.
It really became apparent like by the third season, like when they had them like doing the exact same actions and stuff. But I do feel that that there was still like some separation and stuff. But I definitely get where you're going with that, Rabid. Uh, uh, Very legit choice. KN, how about you?
My favorite, even as a kid, was Sailor Jupiter. It's probably when I was that young, it was most likely just because that was the brunette one. And I mean, we are very not in sync height-wise. I'm like, well, she's the cool, like brown-haired one that can fight really well. I love that. Great. And you know, your opinions aren't always very nuanced when you're 9. But I continued to like her a lot. I think that the balance between her being like she's like the tough fighter like one, but the thing is she's also very feminine as well, and I do think that it's important to let characters be like that because I think more in like modern shows there's often like this push that if this is the tough character like it really leans into that and then all of a sudden it feels like I don't know, like they're devaluing
soft feminine character is like bad.
yeah, like you're not supposed to be
You're not
into
supposed
like
to look up to that. Yeah.
yeah,
which
it's
is
nice
gross.
that Jupiter slash Lita slash Mako, she's able to run around, beat people up. She can fight anybody, real tough, very strong, dependable. But also she likes to cook. She likes to take care of her friends. She likes to look cute. She's you know what? She's got crushes on people, so it's like it's okay to embrace these things rather than be like, ew, I don't want to be girly because that's not cool.
If she wasn't a Sailor Scout, she would 100% grow up to be a homemaker and probably beat up her children's bullies.
Yeah, I mean, before she even became Jupiter, she was like, she was beating up a dude that was trying to like bully Serena. So
And she
you
had a
can tell that was really
reputation.
part of her.
She's great.
Yeah,
Excellent.
I think you bring up a good point with that one, Can. That it's a little more realistic in that kind of way, I suppose. Uh,
Yeah, I like that she's able to be multifaceted like that. She doesn't just have to be the tough one
Yeah,
and
I
nothing else.
appreciate that they didn't
Boys are
just lean
fine.
outright to making her a tomboy because that's something they could have very easily did.
And
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
also fine, but you do get
Also,
that a little more.
What I like though
Yeah.
is because later in the series they do have a tomboy character.
yeah,
Yeah.
Like in Uranus.
Yeah.
Like
it's
Uranus is the more masculine energy version of Jupiter, I think.
They've got a nice spread of what they managed to do with the characters.
Yeah,
since they had
exactly.
time to focus on them.
And I feel like it's very inclusive in the different ways that women choose to be women, which is great. And
yeah.
Kamian's right. Sometimes it feels like kind of narrow in the modern day a little bit for what's presented as a heroine of an adventure of some kind. But in a lot of like I'm not saying that that we should only have stuff like the old content in the world or anything like that, but I feel like there is a lot of value in some older Disney movies, for instance, with some of those princesses, where it's like they are strong, they're just strong in a different way.
Yeah,
And I think
you know,
Sailor Moon,
from Secret of Nim.
yeah,
She's just a she's just a mom trying to take care of her family, and you get to see how someone like that can be like supremely brave without being strong. So.
yeah, and Sailor Moon did a really good job presenting all of that, I feel like.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
You know, I think having that like wide range of personalities and stuff, you know, uh, I do agree with that sentiment that you know like being this one way isn't the problem. It's just you know like uh, just got to make it clear that you know being this other way is okay too, or like a mix. You know, people are so unique, and there's so many different types of people. You know, and portraying it like that, I think, is a good idea, a good show of how our differences, you know, make us unique in that way.
Exactly. There's nothing I love more than women supporting women.
Yeah.
And fighting evil by moonlight, all
And-
that good stuff.
Yeah, all that good stuff. Winning
Exactly.
Love by Daylight is nice too.
Never.
Although I did that by Moonlight. Too.
Oh.
So just to put a cap on the character section, my favorite of the Sailor Scouts slash Senshi slash Guardians is in most continuities it's Minako, Sailor Venus. In PGSM actually it was Sailor Jupiter. But my favorite character overall is actually Artemis. Uh, and that's
Couldn't have guessed.
it's not just because I voiced him in Rabid show either, but I just I liked how Jen mentioned earlier, like Sailor Venus is kind of like the mysterious one, and she has that backstory there, and I feel like uh, just the fact that like their journey sort of started off differently and then converged with the others is very interesting. Uh, you know so that's like why they're my favorites, but I also just like how uh there's uh, uh that range in personalities, I suppose, that we were just talking about, whereas like I guess if I were to compare Luna and Artemis's approaches as mentors, like they could have very easily just had them be like sort of the same type of teacher or whatever. But like if I were to use like a school analogy, right? Imagine that like they're both math teachers, where like Luna is like the stern, well-meaning one that cares about her students and wants them to be able to you know uh, get the problems done the
Perfectly
right way
so.
and whatnot. But like Artemis is like the more laid back, relaxed teacher that doesn't care, what the answer is, or like how the students got to the right answer, as long as it is the right answer. And I think that's a really interesting dynamic between those two.
I really gotta get around to reading the Sailor V manga. I see
It's
it
good stuff.
periodically, and it's like I gotta check that out.
It's very funny.
Yeah, I'd like to get a little more familiar with that side of it as well.
They're sure as hell never gonna adapt it, so you may as well.
Yeah,
No.
that's very true. Uh, So that's our favorite characters. Miracle seems to agree. He's a good boy. Yes. Artemis is a good boy and deserves better. There's some compilation out there, and I wish that I remembered what it was called, but like there's this beautiful compilation of like 3 minutes of Johnny Young Bosch in the new dub of the '90s anime just screaming as Artemis, and it's beautiful. It's
Yeah.
it's somewhere in my favorites. Uh,
Hey, so real quick, favorite villain. Who's your
Favorite
favorite bad guy?
Oh.
I'd say Dr. Tomoe.
yeah.
Oh yeah, Hotaru's dad.
And
Yeah.
although I gotta like also add Mimette to that, at least from the
Mimette's
'90s
great,
anime.
yeah.
Yeah, Mimette is a bean, and she deserves everything good in this world.
And she sure didn't get it.
She sure did not. Nope.
Not as my memory serves. My favorites, I think it probably just speaks to what seasons I saw more often, but I liked Zoisite and Malachite a lot. Even when I thought Zoisite was a female Zoisart. But I appreciate Zoisite in both, like whether they're being portrayed as like a male character or a female character, because there weren't a lot of like of the all the people who were working for Queen Beryl like on the ground doing stuff. They were all dudes, so I kind of like that there was one of the evil ladies involved. But I also thought that they were fun when they were also a guy, like originally. Mostly it was because I just liked how dramatic Zoisite was, and then like in both renditions, and Malachite's just so chill in comparison.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
those two were my favorites.
I mean, Zoisite is a very effeminate gay man. So like him being like retooled into a girl isn't that
There
far of a
was just
stretch.
so much energy
Basically
there.
the
Like,
same.
it was like there was, I don't remember the blonde guy's name who was the first of the
Oh,
crew.
I
I think it was
remember, because I'm
Jedi.
gonna talk about him.
That's Jedi,
It's
yeah.
Jedi.
When I was 10, I thought he was handsome.
It's so mean. In the dub, he was like, "Ew, women suck," and he's like standing there. There's buses flying around. He's saying all these rude things to the girls.
Yeah, he's a huge jerk, and I was just like, ooh, I like his hair. Fancy hair.
You know, fair enough. They made all the villains freaking beautiful too. What were we supposed to do?
I know. I also always thought that Andy was better than Darian.
Andrew?
Andrew, yeah.
The
They
arcade
made
guy?
Darian such a jerk, but I liked Darian as a youth. And then I kind of got to realize, I'm like, you know what? It's true. He doesn't get to do a lot. But then I was reading the manga. I'm like, hey, wait a minute. He does plenty. They
Mhm.
just didn't let him in the show.
Yeah, there's all this stuff in there for him.
Because like the
I was
producers
also-
of the anime thought he was boring and hated him apparently. So
I also really like Prince Diamond because I'm a weirdo. I'm sorry.
I liked
yes.
Diamond and Sapphire also. I'd say they were the next group probably. Oh, he offered some drama.
Listen.
He was pretty.
Yeah, exactly. Us ladies over here like, yeah, Prince Diamond. That's all we have to say about that.
And I'm just like, yes, the race I see.
Well,
Coughing louder. Anyway, we got like 2 for Tomoe. Is that the one you picked, Skull, Dr. Tomoe?
yes, but like along with Mehmet.
Okay, Tomoe, Mehmet. We got some Zoisite and Malachite. Freaking Jedi. Can't believe this.
There's only like 5 episodes. Just let me like him.
He was so mean.
I liked mean characters. I'm sorry.
Fair enough.
I have very unhealthy views about relationships. I'm sorry.
You know what? I have no judgments for that.
Well, on that note, let us move on to favorite storyline from any version.
Reminds me of people shipping
that
Quiche from
plotline
Tokyo
from,
Mew Mew.
Oh God.
Gosh, I forgot what their like big group name was, but from the season where it had like Prince Diamond and Prince Sapphire, and it was
Were they
and like
was it
Rubius
Black
and
Moon
Diamond.
something,
Yeah, like
or...
The Black Moon Kingdom.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
I apologize to Rini's adoring fans, but I really, really, really didn't like her when I was a kid.
Nobody liked her.
It's
No, but
just-
yeah, now she's
They wrote her very
Well, you see, it's
abrasive.
because Rainy was completely fucking insufferable in that season.
Yeah.
They were able to. It's just she pulled so much plot attention, and she was also very unpleasant to Serena, who is like, you know, your protagonist, whom you
Yeah.
love already. So that I didn't like so much as a youth, but I really liked the whole thing with I don't know who's the Wiseman. I thought that whole arc was very interesting. I thought the villains were compelling, even though my favorites were from like the Negaverse group from the previous season.
Yeah.
But like I need to rewatch, I guess, that far because I haven't seen that section in a long time, but I remember as a kid that was my favorite part.
Oh, actually, you know which one I kind of liked was I think was it the 3rd movie with like the weird ship that kidnaps a bunch of children?
Boat.
It
What the
is,
heck?
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool when I was a kid. I was like, whoa.
I remember
It was
thinking
also
like that little
beautifully animated.
Yeah,
that
like-
one was.
I thought that one was very strange. However, I did like the characters they had in there.
I
also.
really shipped Chibiusa with the kid in that one with his little flute.
Yeah, like whoever that kid was, who I forgot his name. He
Better
was
than
adorable.
Helios.
Funny thing about that movie is that apparently Studio Ghibli helped do animation for it.
That must be
well,
why
that-
it was so beautiful.
That would explain a few
Yeah.
things.
For
Actually,
sure.
I want to say though, for the storylines, I want to give an honorable mention to Chibiusa and Helios's romance thing because I think it's funny that they just kind of lifted a plot line from old Supergirl comics.
Yeah.
A unicorn.
No, well, okay, so
Supergirl was in
has,
love
like,
with Superhorse
got-
or something like that.
yeah, well, I don't remember the horse's name, but he turned into a man and they fell in love, and then he was like, "Oh, but she can't know my truth." And then he turned back into a horse. The end.
The last unicorn needs to have a word with you, you other horse people. Amafia knew and left.
Sorry. Sorry. That one wasn't a unicorn though. That was just a flying horse. With a
Just a regular flying
He was
horse.
just a regular flying horse. He
Just
probably had a cape.
Pegasus. Oh,
Yeah.
He have wings.
I,
He's a super horse. He has a cape.
super horse. Yes.
I definitely remember
Yeah, sorry.
seeing one particular scene that I won't mention in great detail with the Chibiusa and Helios thing that was like when I was first getting into it and I saw that I was like, why was this allowed? But
Careful how you dub these things, or you knew what you were
yeah, and it was in the dub too, and I'm like, okay, they couldn't mention Uranus and Neptune's actual relationship, but this is okay. Like what?
You're giving us this?
Wait, Skull, what
No
are you
gays
talking
allowed,
about?
but horse
Right?
fucking, that's fine.
Oh yes, of course. Oh god.
Uh, Jen, you were what were you gonna say?
Oh, I just jokingly said, Skull, what are you talking about? They're cousins, right?
Oh yes, of
Indeed.
course.
That made it way
Yeah, they're just
weirder.
cousins. Very, very, very close cousins.
They're the coolest
I've
cousins
never
of all
had a
time.
similarly aged female cousin. Maybe they do act like that. I don't know.
So insane.
Everyone in the dub is either cousins or best friends if they're in love with each other.
Sure.
They went so out of their
And they
way
were
to
roommates.
attempt to hide that that made like some of the most awkward edits in the dub though. That is a regrettable part. You know what? To be fair, I didn't like the Sailor Moon was that Sailor Moon S? I didn't like that dub anyway, the one where they had Uranus and Neptune come in there because I didn't like the changes to the actors, especially Serena. So this is fine. But I remember there's like scenes in there where Neptune's like, "Oh yes, I remember my first kiss. It was with a man named Brad. He was the handsomest boy at school." Like, do you have to? They're like trying so hard. There's no nuance to it, and they just cut away to like these silhouettes. You're like, what's happening?
Neptune
It's like that's clearly
died
that's
on
clearly
the way
still
back
Haruka's
from
silhouette.
God.
Yeah.
I don't think I watched much of that arc. I think I watched the first arc a bunch, and then they finally started airing that one, but I was like busy or something.
Yeah, I
didn't see much
watched
of it.
some of S. I just really didn't like some of the changes, but I had the whole season on DVD.
Yeah.
So there was stuff to like in there, but man, some of the changes, I was in high school by then, and I was like, hello. I cannot listen to this.
Yeah. Goodness. Rabid, did you get an answer in there for your favorite storyline?
No.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. I mean, conversation's conversation. You know.
We're having a great time.
We were talking about unicorn men.
Yeah. I'd say my favorite arc overall is, in fact, the one you all skipped out on. How dare you? The Deathbusters arc from S, to be more
Deathbusters.
specific. Yeah.
I did watch the whole thing. I thought that it was a little harder to listen to just as, I was a little more judgmental in high school. I just didn't like that the voices had changed.
I'd still be judgmental.
Compared to, but it had good stories in there. Like everyone knows, like I don't remember the official names of anything, but like when they were finding the special 3 talismans, that's the word.
Yeah.
Some of that was really, really good. And the stuff with like Hotaru later was also there was good stuff there. The one I entirely missed out on though was Sailor Moon Stars, and we all know why. They did not allow us to have that in the United States.
The way that I always sum it up is they were like, okay, we can fix this. They're cousins. And then they get all the content for Sailor Moon Stars, and they just went, yeah, I give up. No, there's no way for this.
Ladies that turns into guys, nope, not touching this.
Maybe the guys disappear, and those are their sisters.
That is actually how one dub handled that.
Yeah, I think
don't
it was like the
know.
Italian dub. That's exactly how they did that.
That story either.
Yeah, people tried, but just let it be the way it is.
It didn't
You
help.
made it so much weirder trying to do other like weird stuff to it.
It didn't help for me that I straight up did not like the designs for the Sailor Stars.
I thought Yaten was kind of cute in design.
Which one
the,
was that? Was that
the white-haired one?
That was the only good one.
And then it also like he was
Serena
kind
has
of a jerk though. I didn't like him personally.
Serena has a romance with a dude with a ponytail and baby bangs. Like, no, get out of here. Go kiss Darian. Shut up.
Well, Darian was Derry dead during that season.
Go kiss a picture of Darian, Serena.
She would.
Yeah.
Goodness. As far as my answer, favorite storyline from any version, it's also the like Sailor Saturn, Doctor Tomoe, Mistress 9, Pharaoh 90, whatever. That storyline, but from Crystal. I haven't seen very many episodes from the '90s anime version of that, and I'm sure I would very much enjoy it. But like I think like season 3 of Crystal was kind of just like peak for that show in many respects because they fine-tuned the art style to make it like closer to the '90s anime, but still unique in its own way. Whereas the first 2 seasons didn't have as much budget and everything, and kind of like it didn't look bad after they edited it for home video. But like they did that. They had really beautifully done transformation sequences that were all 2D animation, but still like unique instead of just like tracing over the '90s ones. And then
I need to give Crystal another chance, by the way,
Me
because
too.
when it first came out, I was horrified by some of the stylistic things. The CGI transformations, it just hurt me.
Yeah, I didn't like that, and yeah, I don't know.
It's I watched some of like I think that they had like a movie for it come out or like a two-part or like big episode, and the issue like the jarring issues I had with the animation, I did not see it there. And so I was like, "Oh, okay." They kind of it looks to me like they settled into a style over time compared to what they started with, and I wasn't as unsettled.
I think I was still disappointed with the voices, so I was like, I can't watch this.
Yeah, I did have kind of a problem with like the updated dubs just because I was trying to jog while listening to the episodes and I couldn't tell the difference between who was speaking.
Everyone sounds the same now in anime, and I hate it.
That's a problem I've run into before. Like I feel like some voices are unique enough. Like Jupiter, obviously, you got to have someone that goes like a little deeper for that. And I think like I can tell when Mars is speaking, but like sometimes when like Mercury or Moon or like Venus are speaking, like sometimes I really have to pay attention to the scene to know who's speaking up.
Yeah.
But just like aside from that, just to like finish my thought real quick on that storyline though, like
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
No, you're okay. Just like aesthetically, I think they hit that perfect balance of not just copying the '90s anime, but not going in like that kind of weirdish direction that they went for the first 2 seasons. But also just like that, I think that the writing was just like really tight. I'm sure it was tough to adapt, the manga like that into just 13 episodes. But you cut out all the filler and you take things down to like their essentials. And I think they just hit like a bunch of really good beats. The stuff with Hotaru was really interesting, and I just thought that it told a really really fine story overall. And just got to mention that the theme song it had, in particular, like the third version that really fancies things up. And the fucking credits sequence with Tuxedo Mask that they had, I think, in like the middle of that season. Oh my god, beautiful stuff, just all around. I think that they like really hit their creative peak on Crystal with that season.
And then the movies came out. They were like, "Fuck it, just bring in the character designer for the anime. Just make it look like the anime."
Yeah, and that wasn't like bad or anything, but it them like tracing over the '90s transformation sequences. I was like, come on, this is a theatrical movie. You could do more, you know.
Yeah.
Uh, Goodness. But yeah, so it seems like for KN, it's the Black Moon Kingdom. And Jen, you agreed with that, right?
Yeah, that was my favorite when I was a kid. I thought it
Yeah.
was most interesting.
And then Rabbit and I like the Sailor Saturn storyline, but from different sources. So that's our favorite storylines from any version. Uh, Let us move on to a category I think is going to be pretty fun here: merchandise or collectibles, whatever the case may be. So just you know. Uh, just let us have a moment to rattle on about some cool Sailor Moon stuff that we were able to acquire over the years. Uh, how about we start with Kan?
Well, as a youth, I would have loved nothing more than to have had access to the dope merch because I knew it existed. I had a friend move like to town, like she was like a new friend, new at school, like middle of the year, and she was from another state, and she had like the coolest Sailor Moon stuff. Like she had like all the replicas of the weapons and stuff, and she had the manga, and she had like all the action figures and the dolls and stuff. Like this is the coolest stuff I have ever seen. But I had never seen any single solitary Sailor Moon thing in the wild ever. And I'm like, where did you get this stuff? And this was like pre-internet, so like it's not like I could go, well, as far as I was concerned, I didn't know what eBay was.
Hmm.
I couldn't go like find it anywhere, and I wanted that stuff so bad. She at some point or another she got me like a Sailor Jupiter figurine, and it I think is probably one of the main Sailor Moon like related merch pieces that I basically ever had. I kept that thing for years. Aside from that, we had to like make our own like cosplays for like I was Sailor Jupiter for like Halloween and stuff, and we were just like we were just finding like opera gloves and stuff and like pieces of felt and just putting it together.
Oh
We
yeah.
my
Same.
my like our friend was Mars, and we dyed her hair black, and Ames, my sister, some of you guys know who she is. She was Sailor Venus, so we just like put together our own little bootleg costumes, and somehow no photos of this exist. But I remember the process of making them and bringing like our little like printed pictures of fan art of Sailor Moon from online, going like, we're trying to make this at like the fabric store. Good times, but I only ended up getting the manga like as an adult, like way later. But as a youth, I was very deprived.
I know you got those keychains of the moon cats. So that
Yes, I acquired those later. I think those were a gift, but they were on my my keychain board. Let's see. I'm like looking around my room, like, do I have any more Sailor Moon swag? Because I really didn't have access to much. So that really might be it.
I
What a
gave you a
shock.
shirt that matches mine.
I guess that's new. You know what? Come to think of it, I wore that while I was live streaming, like on Friday. So there's
Yeah,
that.
you sent me a picture of my cat and you were in the reflection. I remember.
That's the newest piece of Sailor Moon merch. Many year later, the collection grows.
gotcha. Rabid, any particular Sailor Moon merch that you'd like to discuss?
Um, I've got like some figures and stuff that are on my desk right now. I've got a few like plushes that I got from cons and things. Uh, I've got the manga, of course. Uh, I suppose Blu-rays count as merch as well. And yeah, that's about it.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
Um,
know.
I
Yeah,
did
you
find
gifted me
like
that tuxedo mask last year.
yeah, that's right. I uh, I went and I got like for a friend Georgia like I bought a Sailor Moon plush, and I took the picture of just it, and I was like, hey, I'd like to send this to you for Christmas, and she was like, oh man, cool. So what she didn't know was that I also bought a tuxedo mask and packaged them together, and I gave her like a note. It was like, I know that you and Rabid just hooked up. If you ever meet, I'd like you to give him tuxedo mask as like a couple's gift. Because I think that'd be nice and sweet. So that's the story behind that one. Um, I think Jen's got a really interesting story, so we'll save the best for last.
Oh, thanks.
And
Okay, so I mean, for stuff that I've bought in more recent history, I have a couple really good keychains of the transformation wand that Venus has, and then Serena's moon wand. Those are for my car keys. I have, gosh, let's see. I have a garage kit that I'm working on and off of Sailor Moon sitting in a crescent moon. That's still got a long ways to go, though. And I also have a really cool posable figure that our good friend Vindo got me for my birthday last year. But the cool, important stuff would be the stuff that I got as a child. So I do have, I mean, I've got like a couple VHSs, which is pretty cool. Like I think it's the movie I was talking about earlier. I don't remember what it's called. And then wasn't there a movie called like Sailor Moon R or something?
Is
Yeah,
that
it's
the
for
one
the
where
second
it's Promise
season.
of the Rose, or
Maybe. Yeah,
Yeah,
I can't remember.
yeah, it's
But
Promise of the
yeah,
Rose.
because
okay,
the
yeah,
other
I
one
think
was like the winter one with Luna, and there was like the
yeah, and I never got to see that one. So I think it was Promise of the Rose and the other one. But so I've got those. I've got I have the first manga that I ever purchased, period, was a volume of Sailor Moon. I believe it was in Sailor Moon Super S, maybe? Because Sailor Moon S is the one where Saturn and all that is introduced, right? And then Super S
Mm-hmm.
came after that.
yeah,
Yeah.
It's it was a random volume from like the middle of the series, but the cover art was of the Outer Senshi, and it was so beautiful, and that was the one that I picked. And I read it a lot of times. The spine on that book is really fucked up, unfortunately. But the cover's still in pretty good shape, and I'm really glad I still have that. And then the really fun one, though, is I had a number of the dolls when I was a kid. So I dug those out recently. I was like looking through all my old stuff from childhood, and I actually managed to find like all of the accessories for them and everything, which is remarkable.
oh yeah,
Um so I had Sailor Moon, Sailor Mercury, Sailor Jupiter, and Sailor Venus. And I restored those. I did a big project where I washed them really thoroughly. I fixed their hair, detangled it, got it smoothed out. Jupiter's I'm really proud of because it has like a perfect curl in the ponytail.
You know what? I remember you sending me photos of you doing that, and I thought it actually looked kind of horrific.
Oh yeah, no, it's when their heads are off their bodies and their hair is sort of sticking out everywhere. I guess that
yeah,
What are you sending me photos of?
I guess that freaks some people out, but I've
Sid from Toy Story.
yeah, that's me. No, I'm more like the old man in Toy Story 2.
Right, right.
But no, I've always loved dolls, like my whole life. And then there was a stretch of time where I hid the fact that I loved dolls and didn't collect them anymore. But how dolls are made and how they work and all that has always been very interesting to me. So this was just a really special project for me, restoring my old dolls. And then to finish up the Inner Senshi collection, I found a new in box Sailor Mars from that same collection, and she's on my shelf now with my four childhood ones. It's pretty awesome. I love them.
yeah. I think I had like just seen a video of someone restoring one of those old dolls, and then Jen like kind of brought it up on one of Vinny's streams. So I thought like it was really interesting because you know like my like one of my impressions of Jen is just that she's like really good at like DIY and that sort of stuff. To hear that like she had gotten into like the doll restoration and stuff too, and seeing the pictures of it and stuff was really cool.
Yeah, it was a small passion project, and I'm really glad I took the time to do that.
Yeah, for sure. Uh, well, like on my end, y- you know, meant to have Jen's like saved for last, so this is gonna come off as like really boring in comparison, but uh, like I've only been a fan, well, I guess for the better part of a decade now. Wow, time really flies. But I don't exactly have a whole lot of money either. Like I've just got like a few plushes. First was Artemis because I mean I had to. Like the GE one, which, like, just as a small aside, I know Ken and I have had a conversation about this on stream before, but like, when that came in, or I think when I was seeing the pictures of it on Amazon, and I was looking at them, and I was like, these eyes are embroidered. Why don't they do this with the Sonic ones? Because this looks so much better. Uh, you know,
They used to. They went with decals nowadays to save money, but my older, well, I have some of like a Sonic plush set where they are the embroidered eyes,
yeah,
and it is
yeah,
so
like
much cooler, right?
Mhm.
some manufacturers went through the trouble of doing that, and I think like it'd be cool if like GE or like some other manufacturers did that as well. Not only does it make them last longer, but it's also safer for like young children, uh,
It
you know,
is, yeah.
uh, and
More
stuff.
so than like buttons.
Yeah, the button eyes are definitely a cause for concern, for any kids under like 4, Uh, so yeah, but I appreciate my Artemis plushie. I forget. I don't think I have Luna yet. So that's gonna have to change. Uh, but later on, from the same line as the tuxedo mask and Sailor Moon that I got for Rabid in Georgia, my two favorite of the Guardians are Mars and Venus. So it's like the Japanese Bandai 20th anniversary ones, and I would like to eventually have at least all of the inner senshi from that particular line. Uh, but I got those because they're like really nice and chibi, and just they look real good and stuff. Uh, but I also found it like really interesting with the two that I got, because I don't think I saw it in the eBay listings, but they're both mistagged, so they're actually kind of rare, uh,
Wow.
in that way. Mars has a Luna tag, and Venus has a Chibi Moon tag. So
Oh,
I
that's
find
funny.
that really interesting.
Yeah.
But that's the extent of my merch story. So
Well,
again,
here's a question. Speaking of plushes, does anybody know if they make like a Luna P one? Because I see big Luna plushes, but God, I would love a big round squishy Luna P.
oh man, that creepy
That's an
thing.
interesting question. Yeah.
Yeah, there probably has been one. I don't know if I've ever seen one though.
I hear multiple people typing. Oh, this is only like 16-ish dollars on Amazon.
3 inches.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Boo.
oh, is it super small?
Yeah, that looks like the kind where you just like hang it on
Oh,
something.
Ah,
it has
darn.
to. Oh yeah, this one's like hand palm size. We need it to be huge.
Yeah,
It has to be
Probably
it's
huge.
looking on like Buyee.com or something like that.
it's got to be like a volleyball, like the size of the one in the show.
Dang it, I don't want to have to make my own.
I'm gonna go to Google Images and see.
Oh, that reminds me, I'm gonna want to Google that
Oh,
manga
it's a
cover.
purse. How about this? That's kind of
That's
larger.
pretty good.
It's
Yeah.
close
What
size.
is
What
that?
is this?
Wait, why is it so smooth? It needs to be furry. Dang it.
Oh yeah, you're right. It's too smooth.
Man,
Smooth
Ew.
brain.
Yeah, this is the part of the podcast where we're all like, let's go look at the collectibles.
and hashtag release the Luna P Squishmallow. Am I right?
Oh,
Yeah.
hell yeah, that'd be perfect. Oh, that one's really cute, the regular Luna.
I tried to win this one out of a claw machine. It was too top heavy. Her head was where all the weight was. It cheated us.
So funny.
It was like
Oh, man.
me and Sparky Raptor trying to win it out of the machine.
I will say I prefer Black Luna over Purple Luna.
Yeah, I love a black cat.
Yeah.
Oh, this is growing plants out of their heads.
Oh my god, put that in chat.
Oh dear.
There we go.
They have little hairdos.
I'm sorry that everyone listening to this podcast can't see what we're looking at.
Yeah, they will later.
There's flippers. Yeah,
Cute.
she's pretty strong.
She's beautiful.
Ooh.
Well,
Sorry, live
We got
listeners.
totally
Yeah,
sidetracked. Let's continue this. We'll look at these after.
Okay. Merchandise afterwards. I'm
Yeah.
closing the window.
no problem, no problem. Next up, we got the questions submitted by viewers. So we have two of them, and the first one is from Ultimate Spider Plush, who says, "Alrighty, in preparation for this episode of Memory Lane Buddies, I watched one episode of Sailor Moon, and my question is, what is the coolest Sailor Moon thing ever?" Yep, that's my question. Couldn't think of anything better.
Sailor Moon.
The coolest Sailor Moon thing
Female
ever is when she fights
representation.
Dracula.
Yeah, when female representation when she fights Dracula.
Yeah.
I think what I'll say in answer to that is just how they're able to do the aesthetics. I think like honestly maybe aside from the stage shows like that, those have some funky designs. But usually Sailor Moon is pretty spot on with what it tries to do in terms of like its look. Like no matter whether it's the manga, like we mentioned earlier. There is stuff to like about early Crystal, but again, I think season 3 hit that really good midpoint. The 90s anime, whatever, like Sailor Moon just has really really good theming most of the time.
I
So
think
like just
All the time.
I think seasons 1 and 2 of Crystal like look good just like as an image.
yeah,
'Cause,
mostly in stills. I'd say yeah.
Because like it looks like the closest to the manga, but like the character designs are so detailed that they apparently couldn't do a good job like animating them well consistently.
Yeah, but just like in terms of looks, like Sailor Moon typically hits it out of the park in that. So I'd say that like the coolest thing, in my opinion, is just how they're able to make that work, no matter the art style or the way that they want to present the version, that sort of thing. They do really good with the theming.
Yeah.
I guess I would possibly say like the decades worth of fan art that came out of it, because like
Oh damn, yeah.
like to this day that's how I stay like connected to the fandom. I was never like involved with like a community of it, but like I follow Sailor Moon artists in various places, and just the stuff people come up with, it's just like you were talking about the art direction and the shows itself, like it's really inspiring to like such a wide variety of artists. I mean, just before we started the podcast, I was looking for something to change my like desktop to be Sailor Moon themed, just to put us in the like, get the vibe going. And we found like this super like this just beautifully colored image of Sailor Moon, and then me and Jen are here in the same place, but we also sent a picture of it to Skull and Rabbits, and we were all like, "Oh, it's amazing!" So like if you're like a casual fan of Sailor Moon and you start like following people who do fan art of it, you might find yourself getting drawn in more and more. There's just a lot of passion in this like artwork, and
Yeah.
it lends itself
Yeah.
to so much color, so many styles. It's just so much fun to behold.
Yeah, the artistic
can
side
see,
of the fandom is really good.
You could see people like doing posts about like the aesthetic of the 90s anime all the time, just like posting all the like hand-painted backgrounds.
Yeah. In terms of fan art, actually, man, I haven't been so involved, like and the most I've really talked with other Sailor Moon fans is like my friends who happen to also be Sailor Moon fans. Uh, but I have looked into art and stuff every now and then, and I did run into I'm gonna post it in this group chat because I kind of had that like same reaction, like, oh my God, this works so well. This Mina is Supergirl.
I'm sorry. I scrolled down to go see what cool thing you were posting, and I saw like those freaking planters
We
I
forgot
posted.
the planters.
The thing you posted is dope. That's not why we laughed.
I get you, but like I saw that and like I wouldn't have connected like those two things together, so I think it's like a really cool idea and it just like works really well. I'm like, oh my God,
Oh my
I'm surprised I haven't seen more of this, you know.
This is awakening some kind of memory in me, and I can't quite pinpoint what it is, but I recall some really, really cool crossover art series with the Sailor Scouts. I can't remember what they were.
This is the randomest comment ever, but just since we're like talking about fandom works, random fun fact, I believe it was me reading a Sailor Moon fanfic. That's how I discovered the concept of making an OC or an original character for a show. Cause like you guys know me, I'm the Sonic girl, and I always like love the characters, the stories, and everything.
Yeah.
It never once crossed my mind that you could make up your own character to write stories about, to go on adventures with the characters from the canon show. And I was reading this fanfic about Sailor Moon, and they had like a fan character come in, and I was like, what the? You can do that?
Oh my god.
That's allowed?
This honestly, it reminds me of because like we've sort of discussed, Kayan and I started watching this pretty dang young, like when it was first airing, and I still remember probably my first OC that I ever made, I think, was Sailor Saturn, because I didn't know that a Sailor Saturn existed yet.
Yeah, they weren't that far in the anime,
Mhm.
so couldn't have known. The fan character in the thing that I read was Serena's long lost brother, Sailor Sun.
Oh,
And I was like,
Oh
what?
man!
I was shocked.
That's so funny.
Yeah, I just never thought of it before.
That's hilarious. I think the first fan site I ever visited was also a Sailor Moon one, and it was on one of my mom's coworkers' computers at the office she worked at. I think the internet was new there, so my mom was like, "Ooh, look, this is pretty neat. I have something to show you." And she was showing me internet.
Wow. Never knowing how impactful that was going to be.
Yes, and then she regretted it ever since.
I do remember going to Sailor Moon fan sites when I was a small youth.
I just remembered the one that I used to visit all the time at her work had this piece of music in it in the background that was super fun and bouncy. It was like a bop.
And
And
the German Sailor Moon intro.
no. It was a bop, and it was a MIDI song, of course. And years later, I found out that it was from Ranma One Half, which is my favorite manga of all time.
Yay!
Oh, man.
The connections.
The connections.
And man, that evokes memories, like not Sailor Moon because like I got into that later, but like all these like fan sites and everything really is like kind of an early internet staple you don't see too much anymore.
It was
Mhm.
just a totally different environment back
Yeah,
then.
Yeah,
and
I miss
Yeah.
fan sites. They were
I,
great.
yeah, I definitely get like fun, fuzzy memories of like the Power Rangers one. There were a couple of them, but there were, like one in particular I used to visit on the reg like all the time when I had the chance to. That's surprisingly still around, actually. I've looked like every few years, and I always get so happy to see that they're still running.
That's good.
Yeah.
I have one that I can only find now in the Wayback Machine, but it was called Oops, Not Another Final Fantasy VII website. And it was run by a guy named Frank Verderosa, and he posted his fan fiction there, and it was very silly. And I was just like, this is the greatest website that will ever exist.
It doesn't get any better than this.
I have fan fictions from that website printed out and saved in a binder.
I
Oh
was
man.
gonna do that for that Sailor Moon fanfic when I was a youth, but like
You don't have the heart
I,
to throw them away.
it's the ink cost would have been astronomical.
Yeah.
Like I cannot convince my father to let me print out hundreds of pages of this fan fiction I found.
Oh, see, Frankfurter Roses were little short stories because they were comedies a lot of the time. Yeah, those are the ones I wanted to save.
Ultimate Spider Plush says archive your favorite websites.
Oh, for sure. Um,
Yeah.
so our second question here comes from a Cold Winter, who writes, this question goes to all of you. I should give context for this question too. I am an ENT and I'm excellent at my job. I've saved lives, helped the community, and I felt I've made a small difference in the world. But there is one area I always seem to struggle in. Oftentimes, you will be paired with a new partner for a 12-hour shift, and I find it difficult to socialize for that long of a time with someone I hardly know. I figured asking YouTubers would be good advice because streamers, I assume, kind of have to put on a mask or tweak parts of their online persona. My question is, how would you go about the situation? What would you talk about, and how would you make the day as least awkward as possible? P.S. Sorry about it being so long and not about Sailor Moon.
I apologize for the giggles at the beginning. There was like a tuft of cat hair floating, and Jen and I like fought it. It was horrible. It won. But excuse me, that wasn't about the question.
Everything's fine.
Yep.
I think that this is related to Sailor Moon because Sailor Moon is about making friends.
Yeah,
Hey,
and then
you
fighting.
think about it that way, yeah.
Sure. Why
Yeah,
not?
and hey, actually, yeah, like saving lives and stuff. And EMT, basically Sailor Moon.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is about how the characters came together through Usagi's friendship with them. So hey, d- d- I can see it. I can see it. Um, I
I guess, live stream like once or twice a week, at least like once a week, with some exceptions for like what, like freaking 6 years now. Um, but I'd say it's more about, I guess, figuring out what parts of your like daily life or what parts of your personality, your hobbies you're willing to share with which people. Because I also have like I've got a different job and they don't know like what I'm doing online is my other job. I try to keep my identities very separated just cuz some things are difficult to explain outside of your like regular sphere, and so there's like too much retreading and explaining things like that. But like when I actually find it a little bit easier like when I'm doing my live streaming stuff to think about things to talk about because I have a themed channel, so everyone who's there watching, they're all fans of a group of things that I'm also a fan of. So when something, when all else fails, hey guys, what's your favorite character? Or, you can talk about something you already know you have in common with that group. With my coworkers at my other job, I guess I don't have quite as much to talk about because they don't know as much about like I like play video game. I am giant nerd and I have fun, but they haven't like seen the stuff that I've like seen or played or interacted with, so it's a little different. I think sometimes it can help in that situation where maybe you don't want to talk about your more personal hobbies. So just have like I guess like a list of things that you are willing to talk about. Something that people I guess think is interesting is that I'm from Alaska, and there's certain key points of fun things of Alaskan living that people like basically everybody thinks that's fun to talk about, and so I can lead in with that. And then the next thing, after I've exhausted my bullet points, or actually way before that, ask them questions about, tell me about your family. Where are you from? And the more you can get engage the other person into saying stuff about themselves instead of maybe focusing on yourself, it makes it a little bit easier so that the pressure's not all on you. And that's what I've got.
Uh, Very sound response to that, KN. Me personally, like I know I've surprised some people before by saying like I'm actually naturally shy, uh, but I feel like with the controlled environment that is live streaming, or at least on my channel, that like I can get into a comfort zone with it. I'm a little more awkward when I'm just by myself, so having a friend there with me really helps. Uh, but when I'm trying to do it myself, I try to be encouraging, like KN said about just trying to talk about like something, uh, and I definitely get what she said too about like talking about it in the real world and kind of like wanting to keep certain aspects of things like separate from others. Certainly understand that, but I could definitely understand like how it can be tough to you know get into a new community or you know uh, start talking with someone new. Like Jen, for example. Like the first time I ever met her was when Vinny invited me to his stream server. So I met her as we were live on stream, and like it was really hard afterward to make small talk, just because like as far as I knew, like this was the first I ever knew of Jen's entire existence. So uh, like it was a bit tough, but sometimes you can get like a boost of confidence with like just trying, and I think starting off with small talk really did kind of help ease me into becoming friends in that like particular instance. So I think that really helps, just trying to find something mutual uh, through some small talk.
How about you, Rabbits? Do you talk to people?
Uh, sometimes.
How does it
Um,
go?
I'm also quite shy, but I have trouble like initiating stuff sometimes.
Mm.
Uh,
I do think that's pretty common to people who socialize a lot online because,
yeah,
it is difficult and, like I get that same comment that Skull mentioned, like people wouldn't expect it for how often I'm interacting with people live and my energy's so high. I'm socially anxious just like the rest of you people.
yeah,
And so like when it can be difficult to like get into the groove of things. And so I think just having like a few things that you can kind of safely talk about, it helps just to have like that to fall back on. But being the one to initiate the conversation, like as a you're about to talk to this one person for 12 hours and you've never socialized with them before, it can be intimidating. So you just have some talking points ahead of time. It is okay to make small talk. The
yeah.
conversations can get deeper later if you end up interacting with them a lot, like what
Mhm.
Skull was saying about him meeting Jen for the first time. Like it develops, but start easy and then you can get more complex as you get to know somebody more.
Oh, I have deep
Yeah.
conversations with people within like 10 minutes of meeting.
Not entirely sure if you count as an introvert
Listen,
exactly.
hey, cold winter. Listen, I got you covered.
And someone who's got advice.
Take it from a chatty fuck like me, who needed to learn to not talk about myself as much as I was. Here's lesson number one, and KN mentioned this at one point. Ask them questions about themselves. And this is actually, I think, in How to Win Friends and Influence People. People like talking about themselves. So if you ask questions about them, it'll make them feel good about themselves, unless they have issues. So yeah, just start with small talk. Usually, if somebody's a decent conversationalist, things will come up that you can build off of. Um, and this one's just a more personal anecdote. But if you're gonna be pretty much, from what I can tell, stuck with one person for 12 straight hours, just chilling and working and all that stuff. Um, so my first date with the man that I am now married to was I hadn't seen him in person in years, and he and I had never actually had like a conversation face to face. We went to high school together, but we weren't really friends or anything. And so he came to my front door. I introduced him to my parents because my mom was like, "We have to meet him," and and then we went out and we got in his car, and it was dead silent. It was very awkward, and I let the silence linger for a second, and then I said, okay, anytime it gets awkwardly quiet like this, let's just ask each other random questions. And he said, like what? And I said, what kind of woodland creature would you be? And we just did that on and off for the entirety of the date. It's a really good way to break up random silences, especially if you're on the same page about it. Like if it feels like it's awkward, or if you want to start a conversation but you don't know how, just ask him something random. Sometimes it's fun. Just like as long as it's not like potentially weird or offensive.
Yeah, no, more neutral,
Yeah,
nice
it's
questions.
something
Yeah.
neutral that most people will be able to formulate an answer for. And it'll lighten the mood, it'll loosen y'all up, it'll make you feel a little bit closer. And yeah, it's a great way to just sort of get some sort of good positive relationship and interaction with somebody off the ground. Highly recommend it. Worked great for me. Married since 2011. Things are going great.
Yeah, it went
Yeah,
all
no,
right, I
yeah,
guess. Just got married or whatever.
yeah, whatever. I guess if nothing else,
Marry your coworker.
oh God. I guess if nothing else, people commiserate. It's a common human experience, whether it's because you've got like too much energy and too much to say, or if it's because you're too shy and you have no clue what to say. I I like went to a like a little luncheon with like a very small group of people that I only had like kind of knew from work, and at first it was going to be like just me and this like one other person and their husband. It's not Jen. This is different.
What? You
And-
know another married person?
Oh
How
my
dare
gosh.
you?
And I was like, oh yes, I will host this lunch. I'm completely horrified. What do I talk about for like 2 hours? I've not met the husband before. I've only just recently met the wife. And I'm like, you know what? What's the one thing we have in common? It ended up being like the work environment that we were both in at the times. Like it's not quite coworker exactly, but we did share like the same interest in that environment. And so like, okay, well,
Sometimes that's all you need.
yeah, I'll just talk about my history in this work environment and ask her how she got in, like how she developed an interest for this and like what her journey into it was and what mine was. And so when in doubt, what you're like, you guys have the common ground at least of being coworkers, and you've got a interesting job, I'd say, as
Yeah.
an EMT. I mean, I don't know if you guys want to talk about the scarier parts of that, but at the very least, you probably have a lot of similar like experiences about the parts of the job that you like, that you don't like.
Oh yeah. Yeah, half of my two really good friends at the last job that I had, most of what we did was like, well, work's over. Let's go to the bar down the street and complain about our boss again.
Yay!
But yeah, even just asking basic icebreaker questions like what movies do you like? What kind of shows do you watch? That kind of thing. Like you can at least start to find common ground that way, I think.
Oh yes.
Also, please remember, it takes two to tango, and the conversation stuff is not 100% your responsibility. Please don't try to feel like you have to like entertain your coworker or anything.
Yeah, other worst case scenario, just put some shades on, confidently introduce yourself, and then just vibe.
Shades
just
on.
vibe.
Yeah, honestly, that's fine, and I don't think you really have much to worry about though in general, because most people are gonna want to talk about something to fill the time just as much as you're gonna want to talk about something to fill the time.
I just saw in the chat a cold winter response. I do enjoy complaining about my boss.
Who doesn't?
My boss is a bit of a dick.
The universal topic. That's all I've
we
got.
helped.
Yeah, did that help?
And I certainly hope, but again, just small talk. See if you can find some mutual ground there. Uh, I do find it kind of interesting that like the first like I brought up meeting and becoming friends with Jen. Like I think like one of the like the very first conversation that we ever had was about famous people that we met. So, a bit different in that respect, but I think like the small icebreakers really is like, a tried and true method. Um,
Yeah, you never know what it'll turn out that you have in common. The woman I was talking about that where I was hosting the small little luncheon thing, uh, my grandfather raised chickens. She has a pet chicken. You never know what you. And then we ended up talking about chickens and their interesting little personalities and how Alaskan chickens are kind of violent.
I love a chicken.
Love a good chicken. So
Love
you
a
know
good
what?
chicken.
You never know what your like small talk conversation will align you on.
yeah, exactly, and I'm glad that you thought of this as helpful. Uh, it's cool to be able to do that for someone. TTP
Good
with
luck.
the yeah, good luck.
Godspeed, Winter.
TTP with the the chicken emoji. Uh, Beautiful. That's everything that we have to cover here on this episode of Memory Lane Buddies. For those who are watching in the chat right now, or those who catch the VOD when it comes up, uh, please do let me know. Since this and the other two episodes were something of a test, would you like me to continue this? As like a monthly thing for channel members, or maybe like the occasional special. Uh, are you interested in more? Please do let me know if you've come out this far. So yeah. That'll just about do it. I think that the three that we've done thus far have been pretty fun. Uh, Lots of good conversation, funny moments, and just some good talks about nostalgic subjects that we love. And I wouldn't have been able to do any of this without having such a large and vast and good group of friends to do that with. So, Rabid, KN, Jen, thank you so much for coming on here to rant and rave about Sailor Moon for a good little bit of time.
Well, thank you for
Of
having us,
course.
everyone.
I had a great time.
Yeah.
Cheer, buddy. So that will do it for this episode of Memory Lane Buddies. Again, please let me know if you're interested in maybe hearing some more. Uh, but for now, we're gonna get blah blah blah. Sorry, my brain still doesn't work. We're gonna get going. So you know. Until the next stream, I have been Skull 902.
Rabbit Sonic fan.
AN from Sonic Song.
Jen.
Yeah. Thank you all for watching, and have yourselves a wonderful day. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Peace.
Bye.